For more than on the crisis of the country's ports, especially in KwaZulu-Natal, we're joined by Stellenbosch University's logistics professor, Jan Havenga. Very good evening to you, sir. Good to have your time on News at Prime. So the president is saying private-public partnerships the way to go in assisting to deal with the crisis at the ports. Will that be enough, though, to make sure that this is resolved and that we do so speedily?
I've heard the president for the first time mention something very important today, which really makes me comfortable that maybe for the first time we are in the right position. He talked about state capture. That is very true. He sort of alluded to the fact that the previous management as well was completely, as far as I'm concerned, they really destroyed that company in a very large way. And I'm not talking about the state capture management, but the management that followed after them. That management that just recently left. There's a huge problem with leadership in Transnet, on both the rail and the port side. People were asked to leave, people left with packages, people just couldn't do their jobs anymore. The toxic culture that was created made it very hard to turn the place around. And recent interventions and recent studies have shown that in the ports, it's not only equipment, it's not only maintenance that fell behind, it is also people. And I was very happy to hear the president says that he's going to address that. A bit late in the game. I think both him and Minister Gordhan should have moved earlier and should have moved quicker. But what makes me comfortable to some extent in the middle of a massive crisis is the fact that this hospital pass, if you want to call it that, was given to really competent people. The new acting chief executive of the railway, of Transnet, Michelle Phillips, very competent. And a new acting chief executive of the railway, which is Russell Wyke. He's also a competent guy. I actually wish they could have been appointed permanently. I'm glad to hear that they're going to do these appointments quickly. And I can also make this point, if we want to see some danger in the future, if these two appointments are not the best of the best, then this country is headed for serious problems.
The challenge, Professor Havenga, often with appointments of competent people over the years has been that even they sometimes fail in the job because you're only as good as the team, and if the people who are in the institutions are demoralized, counterproductive, or very deliberate, in fact, in not wanting to see a change succeed, then there's very little an acting or permanent CEO who is fairly competent or, in fact, above the expectation can actually do.
I think this time, and there's another good thing that's happening. The previous management, and I'm thinking now of Ms. Darby and Sizakele, they did not want any help from outside. They always opposed any real, I would say, inputs from the private sector, and it was impossible to actually deal with them in this I would call action labs, war rooms type of things that was set up. The current management is doing this differently. They are allowing people to come in to assist. They're allowing industry to come in. And I think we'll get the culture back to where it should be and even better. I think it's possible. There is still good people left in Transnet. For the first time now in a long time, I myself has been able to go and talk to people, see people, attend meetings here and there. And I'm actually really refreshed by the fact that some of that skills has remained. And some of the people, and often it's people that has recently left, is coming back and can help. So and we have to.
When you do speak to those people within Transnet now, I'm curious about what their reflections are on the crisis currently at Richards Bay and the thousands of containers waiting at sea. I mean, yesterday we spoke to a Transnet rep who was saying that about 35,000 or so containers waiting. Still, this could take up to early next year to resolve. What do the people who are still within the company say they need right now in order to be able to do their jobs to the best of their ability?
It's a return for everybody to stewardship, caring about what you do, because within the company there are still people, there's still reports of people approaching, arriving late for their shifts, doing things slowly or deliberately. All of that is still. So the culture of stewardship has to be brought back, and it has to happen very fast. The president has also referred to that. The second thing is to get outside expertise back in, and they're asking for that, and I think we're going to get that, and we're going to get that done. The third thing, which is quite important, is as fast as possible to get the equipment back to the state where it should be, maintenance in the first place, and then some replacement in the other place. As far as maintenance is concerned, I still need to hear the plan because, for instance, Transnet has got a very, very big and very successful engineering business called Transnet Engineering. So I hope they're back in full force. And apart from that, getting some of the other engineering firms back in and ask them to help. And then if we can get the equipment and everything sorted, then we can get going with this, as far as I'm concerned. I hope so.
Right. At this point, what prevents a repeat of this crisis that we've now seen?
It's very simple. We need private sector involvement. The long-term future that I see here cannot be different from any other countries. The port authorities, which is the landlord and the operations, that could belong to the state or it could belong to the cities in which they are situated, depending on laws and acts and regulation. The terminal should be in private hands eventually. I can't see this happening any differently. And as far as the railway is concerned, the same. As we have Sunrail that belongs to the state, we have to have a thing, maybe we can call it Suntrack, that belongs to the state. But then we have concessionaires that actually maintain pieces of that track, and we have private sector operators to run trains. We don't run government trucks on Sunrail. We have private trucks. We have private trains. Eventually, if we can get to that and get the whole thing sorted the way it should be, the other thing I know is very soon we will be able to get hold of development bank funding. So Transnet's not going to get a capital injection from the state. I can't see that happening. But if you can restructure the balance sheet of Transnet on a very short term, and that is possible, and you can take some of those very expensive loans and replace them with development bank loans over 30 to 37 years at a very low interest rate, that will also release some funds, expenditure funds that we can use to fix things and get it right. And I know for a fact that to get that going, we just need Transnet to finalize its plans with the Treasury and to show that they join the roadmap, and I think that's going to happen soon.
Well, as recently as last month, October, President Ramaphosa was saying that Transnet is not being privatized. They were seeking some assistance, a financial injection, if you will, of some kind, but the line so far, policy-wise, is that it will not be privatized.
I don't think Transnet, the business as it is now, will not be like Iscor that was privatized or Sasol that was privatized as one business as we see it. I think private sector will get involved in pieces of it. So you're not going to let Transnet Limited, as it stands now, of its current asset base, its current operations, and put it in private hands. And that would be wrong to do. Because what you would do then is you would put a port authority in private hands. You would put the rail track into private hands. We don't need that. I don't think that's what you should do. It's not necessary. But if you break the business up over time, then portions of it could land in private hands. And it's a roadmap. It's a process that we need to follow to get there. But that process we can see. We can see it because we are going to get open access. The moment we have open access, you're going to have private trains. The moment you have private trains, I think Transnet Freight Rail as an operator will be probably one of the smaller operators over a long period of time. Already Transnet has brought in terminal operators as partners in some of the terminals. I think in one terminal, I think it will happen with more. So that gradual process of pieces of Transnet going into the private hands where it will happen. So, and I can understand why the president doesn't want to make a blanket statement that says we're going to privatize Transnet, because that's not what we're going to do.
Professor Jan Havenga, good to speak to you. Thank you so much for your time tonight.